Hello once again, everyone. Welcome back to another video. Original Blood Ace here, and it's time for an OBA discussion. Now, hopefully, this video won't be too long, but I think this deserves a discussion video. So, a new Nintendo patent for handheld slash controller with freeform display. So we're going to talk about a number of things, and I'm probably going to forget half the stuff I wanted to talk about in this video. But first of all, you remember with freeform display, you might not know what that means. Do you remember a while ago, I did a video, like this was, how long ago was this? I don't even remember now. Was it even a year? Maybe it's more than a year. Either way, about Nintendo working with Sharp, who's the company that also does the 3DS screen technology, about a new screen technology. I forget what the official name was. Maybe it's just called Freeform, or maybe that was the code name, or whatever. But anyway, you could have TV screens, or just screens in general, in different shapes, custom shapes, whatever. And in the picture they showed before, it was like the top half was the square, like normal, but then it had like circular cutoffs in the corners, the bottom left and right corners. So it was like a weird, funky shape. And people thought, oh, Nintendo's dabbling in this. Well, it seems that is continuing on, and I'm going to show you the diagram, and we're going to talk about some stuff. But actually, let's show you before we start saying anything. Let's do that. So here we go. Here's what the picture is of the patent. Now, pay no attention to whatever this is supposed to be, like a snowman man running down a road or something. But here is what we're looking at. A weird, what's the word? It almost looks like a giant eyeglass lens, really, the shape, but it's like an oval screen where the whole screen, or the whole thing, is, you know, what you hold. You're holding an entire screen. It's like gamepad where you're just holding the screen without any plastic. Although it shows that there's a shoulder button here and a shoulder button here. Now, there's some other things here. Apparently, under the thumbs, there are two spaces cut out for it, where there would be like sticks, or nubs, or whatever you want to call it, whether they're like the 3DS's circle pad or whether it's like an actual joystick. I don't know. And then here's showing that you can click it in, and people are freaking out saying, where's the buttons, where's the buttons? And see here, there's like it looks like it would almost like it would fit into a it almost looks like the GameCube controller shape in a way. Don't ask what the U means. I think that's just supposed to represent like that area or something. I don't know. But either way, it looks like it would click into something. So some people are freaking out, saying things like, "Oh, I don't want this as the controller for the NX," or blah 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 blah. It looks stupid. Now this might shock you. Let's go back. Well, I guess we can stick at this picture here. But this might shock some of my subscribers here. You might be thinking, oh, John, he's going to talk about this, and he's just going to just rip on it and bash it and say it's the worst thing ever, and what is Nintendo doing? They don't know what they're doing. Because normally that's become what I do these days, since they seem to make so many mistakes. However, you would be wrong in this case, because I'm going to flip the script, and I've seen a lot of people bitching about this, and like, well, mobile technology, it's like a smartphone thing using touchscreen, blah, 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 and it's stupid. And, I don't disagree with you on that smartphone gaming is utter trash, and it needs to fucking die off, and it will, sooner or later. But, with people bitching about this, I am not on board with. You're thinking, what? Well, let me explain. The people have been saying, oh, I don't want this as the NX controller. I don't believe this is the NX controller. I believe this is involved with the NX. But if we look up here, like this picture or this picture, what is, at least some of you, what is the first thing that pops into your mind? I'll give you a second. You see, for me, this whole concept, and first of all, I should be saying, patents happen all the time, and, not all patents end up becoming anything, so this might not ever be anything. That is true. I must admit that. And then there was also, I should say, before I get back on track here, I've seen comments where someone was like, wow, I wonder if they're leaking these things on purpose, or, such like this. It's like, this is a patent. Patents are publicly available to be seen by anyone. How else do you think if someone has an idea and they're like, "Oh, I wonder if someone's already patented that." How else are you supposed to find out? You can look at patents. They're not like top secret. It's not like a game being developed where shh, shh, we can't talk about that. Don't show anyone anything. No concept art, no nothing. Patents are publicly available unless for some reason I guess maybe if it was like some top secret government research thing, then it wouldn't be. But otherwise, if it's a public company or whatever that deals with the public, especially, it would be publicly available. But anyway, back to what I was going to say. When I see this, I don't see this as the NX controller. Not to say that it couldn't be used as a secondary controller, much like how the 3DS can be used as a controller for some Wii U games. You might be seeing where I'm going with this. I'm saying, when I see this, I see the NX handheld console, not the home console, the next handheld, the 3DS successor, which is what I've been saying for how long now, that the NX handheld would come out first. You know, it's still technically possible. I could be wrong. Nintendo could go way off the radar and royally fuck themselves again. But I think this, I mean, it's in your hands. It's small. It looks to be, you know, it's hard to say in comparison to the 3DS how much smaller this would be, but it doesn't look big enough to be a controller. It's like smaller than a frickin' phone, alright? So, or at least more awkward to hold than a phone. Um, so either way, I think this is. Actually, now that I look at it, it does look like there is the handles underneath these hands. I didn't really notice that before. Um, but I still think that this, the whole thing, is more than likely a concept for the next handheld system, the 3DS successor, which again I've been saying for a while now, the NX handheld will come before the NX home console. But again, it's not to say that it couldn't be used as an alternative controller for the NX home console. I don't think it'll be the primary controller for the NX home console. But the whole thing is, this might not even be anywhere close to what the real thing ends up actually ending up as. If you remember seeing the gamepad patents, then you will notice there were certain differences between that and the final product. Originally, it had circle pads like the 3DS and not clickable sticks, which I still think I would have honestly liked more because it would have been kind of interesting and whatnot. But another thing that people seem to be freaking out about with like, you know, oh, there's no buttons. There's like two triggers on top and maybe two things for circles, but there's no actual like A, B, X, Y, start button and all that thing. Now, despite my unhappiness with Nintendo, I'll put it nicely that way, there is one thing you have to admit, that with testing new ideas and pushing the envelope, if there's any company that can achieve a success with a quote gimmick, I hate using that word as like a bad thing because I always find gimmicks to be a good thing, and I'll discuss that in a minute. But it's Nintendo. Nintendo is the company that, if anyone can make some weird thing that most people think, oh, that's never going to happen, that's never going to work well, that's going to be stupid, turn into a success, it's going to be Nintendo, whether you like them or not. Just look at the past. It's just that simple. Wow, I haven't said that phrase in a long time. That used to be my catchphrase, just that simple. But anyway, what was I going to say before? Oh yeah, I was going to say I personally won't judge this till I've seen it actually made and like demonstrated at the very least, because it's like people who, if you haven't tried something like, oh, I fucking hate snowboarding. Well, have you snowboarded? Well, no, but well, then you can't say you hate it. You know, you could say you're not a fan of the idea, but you're open to at least giving it a chance. But for me, I'm actually, again, if this is indeed the handheld, I'm excited for it. I think it could be an interesting idea. I've seen a lot of people like, oh, this is stupid, but for me, I actually like it, and that's weird to say, because, you know, you're used to me saying, like, oh, Nintendo, this is stupid, why do you keep doing stupid shit? I'm actually for this, and if this was indeed Iwata's next idea for the next handheld, I like what I'm seeing. It's basically a more immersive thing, and I want to say something that I don't think many people have actually took the time to consider. they make it look like it's just a screen and that's it. Like there's nothing to it. But apparently in the descriptions of the patent and everything, it talks about 3D glasses free thing and everything. So if it's further even improved past the new 3DS's glasses free 3D technology, then imagine if you're playing a Pokemon game and it's sucking you into the world through this. It's almost like a window into Pokemon, for example. To me, that sounds exciting. That really, like, if there was ever a universe I would like to get sucked into, it would be Pokemon. Maybe Zelda too, but Pokemon is definitely the top of the list. And who knows what other fancy schmancy, tech this could have. This could have, imagine if it's not only the glasses free 3D, but what if they further improved from augmented reality that the 3DS launched with those little mini games but never really went anywhere. Imagine if you're using this and it just oozes the game right out of the system, right out of the screen, right into your fucking hands. And you are literally, you are fully immersed completely into the video game. Imagine like Oculus Rift, except without having to strap goggles to your fucking face. That's my idea. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen here. I'm just saying you can't say it's just going to be a screen. Since when is Nintendo so straightforward and so black and white and simple as it's just a screen, doesn't do anything else? I mean, that just seems stupid to say that. So, and I wanted to say this as well. A lot of people I've seen like, oh, Nintendo, quit with the fucking gimmicks. Just give us a proper controller. Again, I'm still saying I don't think this is, quote, the main controller, the primary controller for the NX home console. I still think it's the next handheld, which I would be excited for if it is. But people bitching about the word gimmick, it drives me mad because if you're against gimmicks, you're against change. You're against something new and fresh and fun. Now, I personally believe that gimmicks are not a bad thing. There can be bad gimmicks, where it starts off as like, oh, it's a new idea, I don't know if that's going to work, and then it ultimately fucking fails, and it's just nobody likes it, like the Kinect, for example. But gimmicks can also be very, very good. Dual screen with the DS, monumental fucking success, and everyone at first was like, I don't know, man, looking at two screens, but they're pretty close, maybe it could work, and it did. Wii remotes, with motion controls. That was, I mean, it took until Wii Motion Plus, but it came out successful in the end, in my opinion. I mean, the Wii sold 100 million units. Yes, the casuals were the biggest factor to that, but the point was, it is a gimmick, and it works, and millions upon millions liked it. So when you complain about gimmicks, and people saying, just give us a normal controller, I understand why people say this, but at the same time, I can't agree with it. Because for me, if you want, quote, a normal controller, which, by the way, like the gamepad people bitch about, the gamepad does everything a normal controller does, plus more, so you're complaining that it does more than your other controllers on your PlayStations or your Xboxes? Really now? Come on. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yes, if you're buying, like, say, whether this, and I don't mean to take for this to be a shot at PlayStation or Xbox, but if you buy, the PS1 to the PS2 to the PS3 to the PS4, or the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One, the controllers have hardly changed. Are you, like, if you look at Nintendo, the NES controller was its thing, was very square and it kind of hurt your hand to hold. Super Nintendo, they improved it and whatnot, and it did change dramatically. They added the shoulder buttons as well was invented, and then they smoothed it out. N64 controller was like a fucking three-pronged boomerang. GameCube controller was one of the best controllers ever made, in my opinion. And then the Wii remotes were completely different, and then the gamepad completely different. So, again, I feel like when you buy a new console, if you want a full new product, it has to have a new controller. If it's just the same old, well, then you should just be able to use your controller from the last gen. What's the point? You're buying half a new product. Instead of buying a $300 console or $400 console, it should be half price because you're only getting the console. The controller, it's the same. It's been barely improved. Although one thing that all controllers need to fucking improve across the board is fucking battery life. But either way, That's an argument for a different time. So, my point, again, I like gimmicks in the sense that it shows that you're still trying to be creative. You're not just like, ah, fuck it, we're not gonna, what's the point? Maybe someone will like it, maybe they won't. Let's just do what everyone likes right now and give it to them. And then Nintendo can be the fucking third pillar out of the power, and change from the power twins to the power triplets, where PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox, all the systems are basically the same fucking thing. What's the fucking point? Right? I mean, how many people out there own both a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One? Just, I'm talking like are some, yes, but if you just look at the entire gaming community, how many of them own Xbox and PlayStation and ignore Nintendo? Do you really think Nintendo making their system, you know, the same, identically, well, near identically, would make them all of a sudden buy it? And even if it did, do you think Nintendo would be proud of that? No, they fucking wouldn't. I mean, they'd be glad that they're selling, but I mean, inside they'd be like, well, I guess we're just a fucking business now. We're not about making people have, good times and laughing and whatever. So, for me, again, gimmicks in general, the idea of trying new things is a good thing. It moves the industry forward. If you're not doing gimmicks, then you're like Treyarch and Activision and all that with COD, where it's and FIFA with EA and everything. It's the same thing, rinse and repeat. And Assassin's Creed with Ubisoft and everything. It's same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing. And yeah, people are buying it up now, but even the most moronic fanboys, 5 years from now, are they still going to be like, yes, the next two Assassin's Creed games revealed, the next Call of Duty Modern Warfare Ultra Edition 72, whatever? Are they going to still be excited? I, I would hope not. But, how stupid could they be? I don't know. So, I feel like if no one in the industry is trying to be creative and pushing new concepts, new creative ideas, you're suffocating the industry and you will suffocate it. You will cause the next game crash. If Nintendo, who's the only one really who still tries to be creative, if they stop trying to be creative, then no one else will be creative except for small indie companies. And what's going to happen? Everyone will get lazier, everyone will just not care, everyone will just do a sloppy job, and the game crash will happen again. So, I don't know. I don't know. Creativity is needed. And remember Atari, a company called Atari? Yeah, it took you a second to think. You're like, that sounds familiar. Where have I heard that? Oh, you mean the company from way back when. Remember them? Their philosophy with controllers was always a game should only have one stick and one button. And what happened to them? They didn't survive the game crash. They got obliterated. They failed miserably because of their own moronic decisions and ideologies. But, you know, hey, if you want everyone to use, I mean, why not, if you want a normal controller, what is a normal controller anyway? One that you've just been accustomed to on the Dude Bro console, the 360. I have nothing wrong with the 360 controller. It was fine, by the way. But why do you want to just use the same thing? Are you afraid of change? What happened to when you were like, when you went from NES to Super Nintendo to N64 to GameCube? You were mastering a new controller. It was exciting. And now people are, I don't know, they're just like, what's the point? I just want to get a game, plug it in, and do what I've done the last 7 years on the last gen console. Why? Why? I don't know. Because people are stupid, I guess. But either way, my point being, Atari's beliefs killed them. So, if you want a normal controller, I'm fine if Nintendo does like what they did with the Wii U, where you have the Pro controller, where if, for the people that want a quote normal controller, keep that as an option. That's fantastic. But if the NX home console comes out with a quote normal controller, I'm not gonna get it. I'm just gonna be like, why? Why would I get this? I have a fucking Pro controller for my Wii U. I bought it, well, originally I bought it way ahead of Smash Bros. Because I was going to use it on Smash Bros. And this was before the GameCube controller adapter thing was even revealed. Then I got that, and I have not used the Pro controller a single goddamn time. Granted, it has an 80-hour battery life, which is fucking phenomenal. But in every other aspect, the gamepad is better, other than the battery life. I'm sorry, it's just my opinion, and I want to say it's fact, but I guess it's technically still opinion. But seriously, I remember when the gamepad was revealed and people were like, "This is stupid." I remember back when I was a kid, still a huge Nintendo fan. We were all saying, me and my friends, that I bet in the future there's going to be a controller with a fucking screen on it, and it happened. So I was excited for it. I still love the gamepad, minus the battery life, but yeah, we're kind of getting off topic here, and I've rambled on long enough in this discussion. My point, very simple, that Nintendo needs to keep being creative, needs these, again, I don't consider it a bad word, but gimmicks, because it makes them stand out. Are they always going to be a huge success? No. Iwata himself said that. He's like, yeah, well, sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. We don't win every time. So, but you can never really count Nintendo out. I mean, Nintendo could keep being stupid for the next 50 years and shooting themselves in the foot and shooting their fans in both feet, and making them, spin around in circles, not accepting anything Nintendo does for now, like with crappy spin-offs like Federation Force and Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival and all that other shit. But that doesn't mean Nintendo's going anywhere. They've been around 126 years, so they know how to survive. So yeah, I guess that'll do it for this video. I've talked about this enough. And I completely forgot my original point, which was I still truly believe that this, whether this ends up becoming anything real, if it does, I believe this is the next handheld from Nintendo. And granted, I still don't think it'll look anything like, it won't look exactly like this diagram. It'll probably look at least 50% different. But if it's the next handheld, I'm excited for it. Simple as that. Shocking enough to say or to hear from me, I know, of all people. But again, I have nothing against Nintendo's handhelds, especially like my idea with the immersive Pokemon. If they buff up the augmented reality, bring that back at full force, and actually give it a solid try. Just think about that. Augmented reality, stereoscopic 3D without glasses, Pokemon. Like, how can you beat that? If Nintendo launches an NX handheld that is like this, with improved stereoscopic 3D and immersive, I can't speak at all now, immersive augmented reality with a Pokemon game like what are we at now? Was Pokemon X Gen 6 or 7? Fuck, I can't remember. If the next generation, I don't want Pokemon Z as a launch game, but if the next Pokemon generation launches as a launch title with this, boom, massive, instant, pure profit. No one can resist this, especially if they launch it at a reasonable price, like say $200 for the next handheld. That'd be a solid fucking deal, and anyone who's anyone would jump at this. I think even casuals would, which, my opinion on Nintendo and the casuals, I still don't really. If the casuals come to their senses and end up ultimately becoming gamers and they support Nintendo or whatever, that's good. If you're just a casual who's like, oh, this is cool, I'll buy it now, and then 2 years down the road I'll forget about it and move on. I don't like those people. I don't. Nintendo should not be focusing on them. But either way, that'll do it for this discussion video. And yeah, I think, again, this just adds more evidence to what I've been saying about an NX handheld. So, either way, I'm ending the video. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.